How is it that you send a proposal for a new project or a new idea or a new strategy to the client? Hi guys, my name is Deepak Shukla, founder at the Pearl Lemon Group. We are a business growth and development company. And if you're looking for any support with communications training, whether it's internally or with your clients, please do reach out to us. And welcome back to day number 17 of 106 days of communications training. And today we're talking about, of course, how to send a proposal to a client. But before we get into it, feel free to click the link in the description below to access the 7 additional strategies that we're not going to be sharing in this training. So look, fundamentally, there's a couple of things to consider when you're sending a proposal to a client. And these are the things I'd say that are important when you're sending a proposal. Number one is timing. So timing is a number of things, and a lot of it relates to active listening as an example. So when I say timing in my terrible writing, I mean, are you aware of the client's budgets? Are you aware of what other things are happening internally? Are you aware if anything is still pending on your side? So timing in relation to budgets, in terms of client-sided work, as well as in terms of, for example, deliverables, they're going to be really important. So sending across a proposal to a client when they're still waiting for work from you, they said that they've run out of budget, or they've said that that there's a busy big internal project, means the timing probably isn't right. The one thing that can supersede it, but also is very powerful, assuming you've got the above sorted, is your relationship. Okay, so when I say relationship, I mean, how well is the actual work going? Okay, so if the work's going well, then you can supersede this in some cases. The budget one's a bit more difficult, but fundamentally, if the relationship is going well, then sending a proposal definitely can make sense. Okay, so that's the relationship in terms of how well the work is going, and it also can apply to personal relationship. Okay, but timing and relationships are super important. So they're the two things contextually that I'd say are important to sending a proposal to a client. Now we get to the specifics of the how. So with the specifics of the how, I would initially raise it over WhatsApp or a call, okay, or an email. But in any event, it needs to be a top line proposal. So when I say top line proposal, I'm talking if it's on email, like a one liner, or rather a shortish email. If it's over a WhatsApp, then you can drop a voice note. If it's over call, you can, of course, briefly explain what your thoughts are. But top line is the main thing that becomes important here. I would generally, depending upon what you're doing, I would stick to the medium that you're on. Potentially, ultimately, voice is best. But if you're using, for example, like we've got a client and I send them WhatsApps, or they'll reach out to me from time to time for WhatsApps, and I'll send WhatsApp proposals. I think from them we closed £8,000 worth of business from just WhatsApp back and forth, really. And then on other with other clients, I've sent calls. With other clients, I've just sent a top line email. Now, the hierarchy depends upon the strength of the relationship as well. So, for example, for one of our clients, they've been a client of ours for 3 years. I just sent an email across, a 2-line email, and then we had a quick chat about it, and then it got signed off. Okay, so that's an example of what we did with the client, with the client, depending upon how long you've had the relationship and how good that relationship is. And then fundamentally, again, it really also depends upon the style of proposals that your clients require or need. And some of this will come down to intuition. So the initial proposal can be a lot more in-depth than the follow-up proposals once you gain the trust of the client. So you might begin, I mean, the client that I'm thinking of that we sent a top line email, in the beginning, there was an exhaustive due diligence process, and the first proposal was a fairly detailed email proposal. Okay. And we'll talk about email proposals in just a second, but think about the style, and the style can often be contextual to the relationship you have with that client. So if it's WhatsApp back and forth, then that's the style. If it's quite formal emails, then that's a style. If there are more than one decision maker involved, then it also changes as well, because it may be the case that the account manager isn't the one who signs the budget. And the one who signs the budget, and again, this goes back to relationship, like what is your relationship with the person who approves budget? Because that's going to then dictate how you send a proposal to the client. Initially, always I'd say top line works. So top line reference with a screenshot or two and/or a simple write up explaining the logic behind it, and then following up from that, you may need to delve into further detail. And what you choose and how you choose to do it depends upon the style of engagement that you have with the client and the parties involved. Okay, so you may have a really laid back style with the specific, for example, account manager on the client side. But then it might be the case that, for example, you've got to send this email off to multiple people. You've got to have a call with multiple people. Then you need to go through a few more hoops. So try and run the client through this criteria in your mind. There's some clients, for example, that I think the proposals we need to send across would be quite formal. Also, it depends upon who is the person that's making the proposal. So, for example, if you are an account manager, but your technical guy, for example, identifies challenges and says that I think you should propose increasing the budget, the technical guy might produce a report internally, and then it would be for the account manager to then present it to the client. And during that process, of course, that proposal might transform, because what the technical person sends might not be client ready, or it might be very client ready, but it wouldn't work for this client. So there's all of these kind of nuances to consider. But fundamentally, these are, I'd say, the 5 filters to think about: timing, the working relationship, or how the work is going. Number 3 is whether you're communicating on WhatsApp, call, or email, sending something across as top line. 4, considering the style of how they like to receive information. And then number 5, who are the parties involved, and how does that change things? And I would then say, I'd say that's it, to be honest with you, because we're not talking about a new prospect, we're talking about a client. So there you have it, guys. The 6 things that you need to do when you're sending a proposal to a client.